Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have something very cool to take a look at. Not a dinosaur at all, quite clearly. However, we have been following this line since the initial release, and we are going to try to continue to do that moving forward. And we have another of the many incredible Harryhausen releases from Star Ace Toys, and I am beyond excited to bring to you Talos. And this one is actually from Jason and the Argonauts, if you can recall, if you remember that film, a great film for sure. And this is, in my opinion, the holder of probably the creepiest moment in that entire film would be Talos here. And I'm really excited to check this one out from Star Ace because it's a very important and quite possibly the most memorable scene from the entire film would be the scene that involves Talos. And you can see here that we have, again, the box that contains both Talos and then the box that contains the base. They come in two separate boxes. So as far as the boxes go, you can see images, basically the same image here on the front. But then as we move the boxes around over here on the side, you can see that we now have some information on Ray Harryhausen right there. And then if we turn it all the way around, we've got information here on the back that talks all about Star Ace, the product, everything going on with it. All kinds of really nice imagery here on the back as well. And then if we turn it around to the other side, we have a nice image here of the head sculpt of Talos, as well as, again, the title right there, and Super Vinyl Series. And then as far as this box goes, which I'm pretty sure this box here would contain the base, we have another really cool image of the model down here. This time we have, a nice image here of the base as well. And then pretty much the same thing on the back. There doesn't really seem to be too much of a difference back here. And then, again, same deal over here. So let's go ahead, pop these boxes open, and check this model out. So straight away we have our base, and man, that is really nice. That might actually be my favorite base so far for any of these Star Ace Toys models. That looks really good. Beautiful water effect for that one. And then we also have some other pieces to the puzzle, as we have the ship. We've also got part of the ship, actually, and then a splash of water right there, which we will definitely get put onto the base very soon. And then the star of the show, of course, which is Talos himself. And he looks absolutely incredible. Actually, I'm just going to come back here a little bit further. But honestly, they nailed it as far as his overall appearance goes. Like, the texturing, the coloration, everything looks picture perfect on Talos right there. And what's interesting, if you are unfamiliar with Jason and the Argonauts, is Talos and pretty much the entire movie, although obviously they've rearranged things and added their own flair, but it's all based off of actual mythology. Like, Talos himself is from Greek mythology, but in reality, well, in actual mythology, he's not quite as large as he is in the movie. He's much larger in the movie. I think he's only like 7 or 8 feet tall when it comes to the actual mythology of Talos. But in the movie, again, he's huge, absolutely massive. But again, he looks great here as far as this model goes from Star Ace, and I can't wait to see everything put together and on the base to see the final product. But before we go and do that, we're going to go ahead and jump straight to a closer look right now. So, of course, we're going to start by taking a look at Talos, and you can see that as far as that head sculpt goes, that is picture perfect. Really nicely replicating Talos from the film. I think they've done a great job, honestly, of giving him that statue-like look. Of course, in both the film, but now with this model from Star Ace, and they've perfectly painted this and really nicely shown off the coloration that you see on Talos in the film. And one very important aspect, I think, to Talos is that kind of like greenish blue color that you see creeping through certain areas. That's something that's very noticeable in the movie, and they beautifully replicated that here with also some nice variations of like browns and then kind of some areas of like golds that sort of highlight the detailing and really nicely are dry brushed over, which in my opinion again looks exactly like it looks in the film. You can see as far as the detailing aspect goes, the facial hair here is really nicely sculpted out, as he has a very nice beard, and you can see that is very beautifully sculpted. And as we move along, you can see that the texturing looks great throughout. Like, the actual texturing genuinely looks like what you would see on a statue. We can see the cheekbones are very nicely elaborated, the eyes are beautifully sculpted out, as well as the nose. Then if we come up here to the headgear of our Talos, You can see that as well sports some very nice texturing, and the paintwork honestly is as top notch as it gets. Like, whoa, the sword got in the way right there, but it honestly looks exactly like it looks in the movie. And not only that, it also looks exactly like it looked on the prototype that we had been shown from Star Ace quite a ways back. And I always love that when you can get a product from a company that ends up looking just like the prototype, because that's not something that happens very often. So when it does, it's something to be proud of, and I feel like that's definitely the case here with this Talos model. And you can see as we move down throughout the course of the body, you can see the very nice detailing. We've got those pecs very nicely showing here on the part of Talos. You can also see like the tensing up here, which is of course shown in the film and also nicely replicated here. As you move down throughout the course of the body, you can continue to see the musculature of Talos throughout. And again, the texturing is so picture perfect. You can see the very nice, very muscular looking arms. And as we move down the course of the body, you can continue to see the really nice paintwork as they've applied so many different tones of color, as well as again that very nice kind of greenish blue type color that you see in the film kind of creeping through certain areas, which I think is just incredibly awesome looking. And you can see as we move down here, you've got that very large hand. Yet again, some more of those tones of color creeping through, but there's also like grays and browns, and then every so often you find some very light hints of like a very metallic kind of a gold, which looks great. It really genuinely looks like he has gold on him, which is pretty darn cool. The fingernails, the knuckles, everything sculpted out so nicely here on this Talos. And I think Talos is responsible for probably one of the creepiest moments in film history, or at least as far as I'm concerned. Maybe not by today's standards, but when this movie was released, like the moment in Jason and the Argonauts when Talos initially wakes up and just turns his head and there's that creepy music that is just full of dread playing, man, that moment in that film was kind of horrifying, I think. Definitely something to look up. If you've never seen the movie, definitely check out that scene with Harryhausen's incredible stop motion effects. It was just absolutely perfect. But you can see again the detailing here on the front of the model as far as the texturing and everything looks great. You can see the rib cage and everything kind of displayed over here. And you can also see some immense muscle definition over here on the left arm, as well as again some more fantastic paintwork and incredible texturing throughout. And then we get over here to that trademark sword, and I think the sword also looks great because it also sports again that same similar coloration, but it genuinely has, you know, that fantastic picture perfect sculpt as far as the sword that Talos carries, even kind of like sporting some imperfections and stuff, which looks really, really cool. And again, just sports so much coloration to it that you almost can't even pick up on until you get it in a nice light and really take a look at it. The inside will be a little harder to see, but we can see it there. Definitely looks great from every angle. The hand also is sculpted very nicely. You can see holding the sword quite beautifully. The knuckles, the nails, everything are painted and sculpted out quite nicely. And as you continue to move down the course of Talos, yet again, he looks exactly like he looked in the movie. Like it almost looks like this could be the stop motion puppet that Harryhausen had used. It is that realistic. You're basically buying yourself Talos from the movie, it seems, when you buy the Star Ace version. And the muscle definition and everything down here in the legs also looks great. And I love how they've used that bluish green in every area, but it just looks so vibrant throughout the sculpt. Like pretty much exactly as vibrant as we saw in the film. Potentially maybe even a little more so vibrant than what we see in the film. And you can again see the muscle definition throughout the course of the leg. Looks great both in the thigh as well as down here in the calf. And then we have the foot as well as the sandals that are worn by Talos. The foot also looks fantastic. Really nicely sculpted out toes. The nails are sculpted out nicely, as are the sandals themselves. And you can see the same deal over here for this side. Absolutely beautiful looking sculpt. And then if we turn Talos around, you can see the incredible muscle definition here within the back, as well as the spinal column here running down along the back. As you move down the course of the model, you can again continue to see how incredible that paintwork is. And I just love how subtle the usage of those goldish tones are on this. Like, it really looks crazy, crazy cool. Some areas honestly have like that goldish type of a color, but you, like, if you just look at it straight forward, it's not until the light really hits it that you can really take note to the goldish tones, which is so cool. It's honestly like blowing my mind right now looking at it. Like, I can't even begin to fathom how they pulled that look off so nicely on this model. The paintwork of this is just so expertly done. Man, I just can't stop looking at it. It's so cool. And then as we move down the course of the body, you can again see the muscle definition of the calves and everything here in the back. The sculpt continues to look incredible in every area, and they have not missed a beat as far as the minute detailing goes, because they even have the area here on the back of the foot where they open this up to release the liquid that then in turn kills poor Talos, and you can see that they've sculpted that and painted that exactly as it looks in the film as well. And definitely a very nice touch, something you really want to make sure you have, because that is a very important part of Talos in the movie. But man, this is easily one of the nicest models, I think, in this entire line, and that's really saying something, because this line has been fantastic so far, and another beauty as far as that goes. And then we've also got the Argo here, the ship that they are on, and then we've also got the sail, if we could slide that in there without breaking it. So it's a little crooked right now, but it'll do. So you can see that as far as the Argo goes, that as well is beautiful. Like, they've done a great job of really nicely replicating the boat and also giving it a very realistic paint application. You can see it looks very weathered. It looks like, pretty much exactly like it looks in the film. It doesn't look like it's a brand new model that we have here. It looks genuinely like it's been out in the ocean, out in the sea, and looks like it's seen its fair share of use, and I feel like they've painted it so perfectly, using different washes and everything to give it that kind of dirty but very realistic look. Even the sail up here looks fantastic as far as both the sculpt. Like, you can see so many wrinkles and creases throughout, looking very realistic, very lifelike from every angle. And then again, we've even got like the oars here sticking out of the side. The only thing it's missing, I think, would be, the Argonauts down here. But of course, when Talos actually lifts the boat up off of the ground, when he lifts the Argo up, and he knocks everybody off of the boat before throwing it back down after, of course, destroying it a little bit. So this is, pretty much a moment in that film that occurs perfectly, and I feel like this is probably the most iconic scene as far as Talos goes in the movie. So this was definitely a great choice on the part of Star Ace to go with this as far as what they wanted to do with their display. And you can see the splash of water looks super nice, really nice, very translucent look. You can see my fingers right through it. But then, of course, with the splash, they added in some really nice white dry brushing here to the outer edges. Super nice looking. And then the base itself, of course, replicates that exact moment kind of where the Argonauts are trying to escape, and as they're about to leave, Talos, smarter than them apparently, walks up along the side and just kind of cuts them off, and that's where he gets a hold of the Argo and shakes everyone off of it. And I feel like they've perfectly replicated that exact area with the base right here, because of course the Argo was heading for this area to try to escape, and unfortunately Talos cuts them off thanks to Hercules being kind of selfish and trying to take some of the treasure. But you can see that as far as the earthy areas go, it is beautifully sculpted, super highly detailed, and also really nicely painted. They've given it some very nice realistic tones of variations of browns and grays, and quite a few different variations of grays. It looks like I might only see maybe 1 to 2 variations of browns. I'm thinking it's 1, but there's also quite a few different variations of grays. I'm picking up on definitely a few. And then once you move into the actual water area, you can see the water effect is incredible, super, super lifelike. You've got some really nice waves occurring here throughout. Again, a very nice translucent type of a look, so you can actually see within the water. And we again have numerous different tones of colors in the water. You can even see like some greenish areas. You've got blue, darker blue, lighter blue, whites, of course, and lots of different color variation, really capturing the feeling of that moment in the film, but also just a lot of realism with the base. So the base honestly might be one of my favorite, if not my favorite bases from the entire Star Ace Harryhausen line. And then here on the back, you can again see Ray Harryhausen's Talos. This is the deluxe version. And then you can see down here, produced with the permission of the Ray and Diana Harryhausen Foundation. And then we also have the Star Ace logo. So I'm actually super psyched about this, and even more so excited to get everything put together. So let's go ahead, do that, and check this model out when it's fully put together right now. And then once the entire diorama is put together, man, does it ever look awesome. Star Ace really has done a fantastic job on this, just capturing the moment from the film perfectly. I love how Talos is kind of looking down at the boat here as he's picking it up down at the Argo. You can see the splash in the water as the Argo is being lifted up out of the ocean, and once put together, everything is just so perfect looking. Like, it really, really captures that scene perfectly from the film. Definitely a huge fan of this model, and in general, the Harryhausen series from Star Ace, but this one is an absolutely perfect rendition of that moment from the film. The only thing, again, that's missing would be the Argonauts themselves, but considering how small they would have to be here to include in this scene, I feel like they weren't necessarily needed, and it still looks fantastic the way it is. As far as a size goes, for a height to the top of Talos, you are looking at, due to where he is, because he's standing on the base, I can't exactly get it behind him too well, so there's not a perfect measurement, I'm going to go ahead and say, but he looks like he's right around I'd say about 12.5 inches or around 32 centimeters, somewhere in that vicinity as far as the height goes. And then as far as the base goes, you're looking at, for a width, actually, if we go behind the boat here, sneak under here, and then try to take a width right here, you're looking at a little over 8 inches or 20, maybe about 20.5 centimeters, roughly in that vicinity. So definitely a very nicely sized base, very nicely sized model overall. And for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon in comparison to our Star Ace Talos model. And you can really see now with those figures here stepping in to give us a comparison just how large the Talos is. It is an absolutely massive model, as all of these Star Ace models have been. So on top of getting a beautiful, extremely highly detailed, and super nicely painted model of a Harryhausen film, you also get one that has an extremely impressive size, and I would think that these figures here stepping in would definitely help to show you that. And then for another comparison, here is the Star Ace Ceratosaurus from 1 million years BC in comparison to our Talos, and you can definitely see that as far as these go, both are super awesome models. Like, the Harryhausen line from Star Ace is honestly one of my favorite things going currently in the collecting community. Like, there are a few things in this life I think that I find cooler than Harryhausen inspired models, and especially with how good Star Ace is when it comes to delivering those perfect interpretations of them. I'm definitely in love with everything they've released so far, but this should help to show you that not only are both of these models incredible, but both do still sport a very impressive size. And then for one more comparison, here is the Star Ace 1 million years BC Triceratops in comparison to our Talos, again showing you that both models sport a very impressive size, but also showing you how large the Talos is, because it really towers over the Triceratops. But of course, being a quadrupedal dinosaur, pretty low to the ground, you wouldn't expect anything other. But still, again, I think showing the two together and just how impressive the Triceratops is in size should also help to show you how impressive the Talos model is. So this Star Ace Toys Ray Harryhausen Jason and the Argonauts Talos model is incredible. Another beautiful release on their part, and I think at this point I am pretty confident that we will get nothing short of excellence with every release that Star Ace has coming out for the Harryhausen line. There are also a few others right now that I'm definitely looking forward to, like the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. There's also the Ymir out currently. And then we have Guanji coming, as well as actually the Kraken. So definitely some fun stuff coming. I'm hoping that we'll get more in the future. Like, for instance, Jason and the Argonauts, we've got some more creatures we can get from this film specifically. But as far as this Talos goes, again, I always felt like Talos was probably the star of Jason and the Argonauts as far as like the creatures go and the special effects goes, because he was just so eerie, he was creepy. The entire scene taking place where he wakes up and then kind of chases them off and then destroys the boat, you know, maybe by today's standards might not be quite so horrifying, but you know, when you're younger and stuff and you see the movie, it's pretty terrifying to see that occur. And Harryhausen's special effects were so brilliant for the time that it really brought it to life. And then the score for the film just really tied everything together, making that scene pretty creepy, if you ask me. And I feel like Star Ace has done so much justice to not only that model of Talos, but also the entire scene that takes place in the film, because they've perfectly replicated it here with this model as Talos is lifting the Argo up out of the ocean. And you can even see again the splash of water, and the water looks so realistic here on the model. Like, they have done an incredible job of adding in the most realistic aspects to the model possible, like the beautiful waves, the color variation in the water underneath, that really nice translucent type of a look. The splash is perfectly replicated as well. The Argo itself, as you move up along the model, you can see the Argo is beautifully sculpted, picture perfect to what it looked like in the film, as well as the paintwork is very nice and realistically done, with many different tones of color added in using washes and everything, and some dry brushing to really give it that very nice realistic and weathered look. And then as you move up along the course of the base, the earthy areas look fantastic, super realistic, and perfectly again replicating the terrain that is present when this scene happens in the film. So that as well just kind of ties everything together as far as the base, and again brings that moment in the film to life with this Star Ace Toys Talos model. And then as you move up and check out Talos himself, he is incredible. Like, they have done a great job not only of sculpting him out to look exactly like he looks in the film, but also the paintwork. And the paintwork is always something that is very important when it comes to a model, and where you are capturing one of the most iconic scenes from this film and bringing it to life, you really want the paintwork on the star of the show, which is Talos, to look good. And I think it looks exactly like it looks in the film, with those really nice variations of like that greenish blue and the really nice browns, as well as that kind of goldish look. It just looks so much so like a statue here in front of me, and so much so looks like the statue in Jason and the Argonauts of Talos that comes to life, and of course mistakes the Argonauts for pirates and takes them down to stop them from taking any treasure, again thanks to Hercules. But as far as this model goes, it is a perfect representation of Talos in every aspect. Sculpt, paint, everything looks great. The base, everything looks great. It is such a centerpiece collectible that if you are a fan of the Harryhausen films, this is something that I feel like is an absolute must-have. So if you are interested in this, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase this right now. And just keep in mind that the Harryhausen models from Star Ace are a limited edition, so you want to make sure you pick it up right away before it sells out and you can no longer get a hold of it. So again, check the link in the description, go buy this beautiful Talos model from Star Ace, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.